Hey, and we're back. I'm your host, BKP, and we're at Circuit World at downtown Blue Ridge, here, Blue Ridge, Georgia, Circuit World. Hey, JR, for some reason, I know how to say that. I've been saying Circuit World at Blue Ridge, what, for 4 years now?
Yeah, I've been 4.
Yeah, well, the ladies want to know why they don't get a couch.
Well, that's on you.
Sam and Rose are over here like, why don't we have a couch?
You said we weren't allowed to have a couch.
Yeah, I offered. That's on him.
He didn't offer a couch.
I even offered so you guys
Sam.
He said you didn't need none.
What do you say, Dr. Whaley? You get a vote.
I do. It would not meet OSHA standards.
Sam, I tried.
You know, you see that commercial for the standing desk and everything. They're real particular about how your workspace looks.
Okay.
I got to tell you, we have hit the big time here. You know, we've got the couches like the guys on television. And when I was back in the green room there, Sam, and they put a little bit too much white powder on my hair, but they got the makeup right. So my hair's not really this white, but my face really is this tan. It's all.
Hey, welcome back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from Blue Ridge, Georgia, Circuit World. It's time for Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley. When we want to thank Georgia Cancer Specialist for this segment. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great, thank you. Georgia Cancer Specialist is right up the hill, you know.
Yeah,
we're about 100 yards from Georgia Cancer Specialist.
Exactly.
Here.
You just pull out and go up top of the hill.
Right. It's like a toy store in here. I came in this morning and I said, I can't hear these TVs, but boy, they sure are great, pretty. Huh? 10 TVs over there. They only got 2 programs on 10 TVs, but they're beautiful screens. They think the pictures are pretty. I need a new TV, but you know, it's pretty. Like.
This is Ask the Doc.
Yes,
now, do you want me to get JR over here
Toy
and see if he can cut a deal?
Cut a deal for a TV.
I mean, we can always do that right now. JR's ready to cut a deal.
You need help with a TV?
See JR before you leave. Dr. Whaley, anything, as we always do, anything as we open this morning, anything on your mind you want to open up with? You did bring your tab.
I did.
Have tab, will travel.
Have tab, will travel. Yeah, you know, you were talking about pulling the plug. There's just so many things going on with pulling the plug. I'm gratified with the way things are going. The one piece of advice I would have given Mr. Trump is not to retweet those videos, but he didn't call or I didn't answer or something. So, that's the only thing I can say. That's my last week's advice.
You know, he sits there. My opinion is he sits there in the afternoon and he says, who can I bother in the morning? Because the morning news shows, their heads just spin off. They go crazy. And I really think I'm going to say the lady. I'm going to say the lady. We're going to go the lady. And the lady farmer that's driving the tractor in Kansas. Why is it always got to be a guy, right? Right? Why? I mean, hey, maybe the lady farmer is driving a tractor in Kansas this morning. I don't think she cares.
No, I don't either.
Do you?
Not a bit.
And I think rural America actually is laughing at the morning people that are going crazy. Yeah, because they're going on to work and enjoying life.
Yeah, the problem is though they got all those people in Europe that are just off the wall. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But when we finish the questions, Sam, I got to have enough time to go to a really important piece of regular news. Go with the questions. Just go.
Okay, let's start with our first question for Dr. Whaley. My fingers have been getting numb and turning white and feel cold, and it lasts for approximately 15 minutes. Should I be concerned?
The truth of the matter is, I told you a few weeks ago, boy, what an onion this question was. This is a really, 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 this question and the one a little bit later on are interrelated. The answer to the question is, should I be concerned? First of all, if it's interfering with the quality of your life, if it's interfering with your doing your daily duties, if it's any way, a big deal, you need to think about it. I'm going to read 3 questions, and if you can answer yes to those 3 questions, then you have the relatively common phenomenon. I mean, relatively common. I mean, we see it in 3, 4, 5% of people, called Raynaud's phenomenon. So I don't know who asked the question, but I'm going to ask you to answer 3. Are your fingers unusually sensitive to the cold? you can answer yes to that question, the next one is, do your fingers change color when they are exposed to cold temperatures? That's number 2. And the answer to the question about the temperature is, do they turn white, blue, or both? And if you answer yes to 2 of those questions or 1 of those questions, forget about it. But if you can answer yes to 3 of those questions, then you have the condition known as Raynaud's phenomenon. And that condition is relatively common, and the majority of them, let's say 95%, are of no significant cause. They just kind of interfere with your day-to-day activity. I mean, you can't reach down in a cooler and get a Coke in the summertime, and in the winter, when you go outside the house, people are bothered with it. Their fingers sting. It can last for 50. The person who asked the question actually said 15 minutes. And one of the diagnostic tests is to place a temperature indicator on your finger. Have you cool your fingers and then see how long it takes to recover your temperature, and it should recover within 20 minutes. So let's just take that 15 and drag it out another 5. And if it doesn't recover in 20 minutes, then there's a variety of other tests that your doctor would do to come up with is this a Raynaud's phenomenon that represents something that has significant medical complication to it. For example, I had some pictures I sent to Sam, but I'm not techno savvy. I couldn't hardly get on the internet here. But if the change in discoloration of your fingers is symmetrical and it gets all of your fingers and it's white or it turns red then turns blue or whatever, that's Raynaud's phenomenon. But if you've got it only in 2 fingers or you've got it only in 1 hand, then quite likely you've got another causation entirely, and that's an arterial insufficiency. You're either throwing little pieces of cholesterol into the small arteries of your hand or something else of that sort, and that needs to go to the doctor right away and be looked at. If you actually have blackening and sort of like you hit yourself with a hammer at the end of your fingers, that's not normal Raynaud's phenomenon. You need to go to the doctor and get it looked at. So the things that increase this sensitivity in the wintertime are such things as guys who drive, what's this thing called a jackhammer?
Yeah.
And we have a tremendous amount of construction going on around Blue Ridge. And so people that are hammering, that are laying brick, that are doing anything that is traumatizing the hand in cold weather can increase the incidence of the normal Raynaud's phenomenon. And say, well, if I've got it, what am I supposed to do about it? Because the question didn't ask, what do I do about it? It just says, do I need to be worried about it? The answer is not worried about it if it doesn't interfere with your life. But if in the wintertime and you're a construction worker or you're a housewife or you're ringing up stuff at the supermarket and your hands are getting cold sufficiently to interfere with your work, then there's really not medication that's given for it at all. But it's sort of practical things. They tell you to go to the sporting goods store and get mittens, not gloves, because mittens keep your hands much warmer than gloves. And if that doesn't do, then buy the ones that have the little battery in it so that it heats your hands and heats your feet. Crank up your car, go back in the house and get the car warm before you get in it. Because if you get in a cold car and you got your hands, even with gloves on the steering wheel, and it starts to lower the body temperature, then the whole rest of the day you're kind of behind the power curve. And so there's a variety of these sort of practical things that you can do. But at the end of the day, the question is, should I be concerned? And the answer is yes, if it's interfering with the quality of your life or if it's asymmetrical. And if it's a nuisance, then you have to learn how to deal with it. And some of those practical things, I just gave you the answer.
Okay, this next question, I'm very interested in this because I'm interested in this question. Let me get right to it. I have been having sharp pains in one side of my head, and the pains are sudden and sharp but do not last very long. Is this just a type of migraine?
This is a great description. I don't know who's asking these questions, but it's like they've got a medical book. The discussion, what they are describing is what's called an ice pick headache. and it's a great label for it.
Yes.
It's bang, and it hurts like the devil. First of all, they can occur in Sam, they can occur in you, they can occur in me, but they're more common in people who have migraine. This is not a migraine. The ice pick is not a migraine headache. 2, if it occurs on both sides, not at the same time. So if it occurs on the right side 80% of the time, and on the left side 20% of the time, then you don't have a structural problem in your brain like a brain tumor or an aneurysm or something like that. If 100% of the time it's on one side, go to the doctor. Needs to be evaluated.
So if the pain moves,
If
it moves, if I get what you call an ice pick headache over here, and it's gone, and then I get one over here and it's gone, that's different.
That's totally different.
But if it's isolated,
but if you get it here today and you get another one in 3 weeks and it's here, and you get another one 4 days later and it's here, they're all on the same side over a period of reasonable time, then it needs to be evaluated.
This is a very important question,
and
folks.
A real important question.
I think it is.
All right, now the spectrum of migraine headache, which I think we've mentioned a few times before, is a condition where you have constriction. We got a customer. Somebody get out here now and show those televisions. You've got a constriction of the artery. Then it dilates, and you get this pounding, and you can, when the artery is constricted, you may have visual abnormalities. You can have numbness of your hand, numbness of your lip, or whatever. And then as that artery begins to expand and starts to pound like that, it's now bigger than normal. That's when you get the pounding headache. That's a totally different thing than these ice pick headaches. But these ice pick headaches can occur in people who have migraines and in people who have too much caffeine, under significant stress. Don't know who's not under stress in the 20th century America. Too much alcohol or things of that sort. And they can be extremely disabling. A family member of my wife's has these very severely. Now, there is treatment for, sort of prevention for these headaches, and it's relatively simple. You'll remember we were talking about sleep and melatonin a few weeks ago. Somebody asked about melatonin. This is one of the legitimate places where melatonin in the dose of 3 to 12, as you buy it on the counter, most of them are 3s, taken every day, day in, day out, just like a vitamin, can diminish the intensity, the frequency, or abort or obliterate the onset of the ice pick headache. If it doesn't, and you're having sufficient headache to require going to the doctor, then there's a medicine. It's a very old, common medicine. It's cheap, called Indocin or indomethacin. We used to use for arthritis. It came along before the Motrin and the Advil, and it had more adverse effects on the stomach. But it, not Motrin, not Advil, not any of the rest, it, taken on a daily basis in a relatively small dose, can diminish the frequency, diminish the intensity, or obliterate the ice pick headache. So the ice pick headache is a real deal. And if it's occurring on one side and then the other side, and it occurs 2 or 3 times a year, you don't take something to obliterate it. But if you have it, and there are people that can have it more than once a day or several times in a week, or it can occur once in your life. So there's a great spectrum of that ice pick headache.
Well, we have one more question, and we want to save time for Dr. Whaley. He has a special note that he wants to share before we leave our segment this morning. Again, thank you, Georgia Cancer Specialist, for this segment. Now, since the weather has been colder, I have been experiencing extreme dry skin to the point my skin, it breaks open, and nothing I've used seems to alleviate the problem. So I wonder if there is an over-the-counter solution which may help.
First of all, that's a great question for the mountains of North Georgia. It's a very common condition in dermatology. There's a class of this problem that's called housewives dermatitis. And unfortunately, we don't have a whole bunch of housewives anymore. But the housewives' dermatitis, which occurs primarily this time of year, was the woman who has to wash the dishes in the sink, cleans the house with her hands, gets her hands in the pine sol and everything else. And what that does is it takes the moisture takes the oils out of the skin. The cold weather, I gave you that thing about the Raynaud's phenomenon, exact same stimulus. Your fingers then get quite dry, they crack and they can bleed. And so the old treatment, when it was talking just about housewives' dermatitis, was one, stop wearing the rubber gloves because you can have allergy to the inside of the rubber gloves. And people say, wait a minute, I thought you just told me it was because I'd get my hands in the water. So the answer is it is. But the prevention for it, and I'm not trying to sell any particular brand, but you'll remember when we were kids, they used to advertise Corn Huskers lotion.
Yes.
On television or radio, and the other one was called Udder Cream.
Yes.
Well,
oh, yeah.
Okay, both of those are actually. That's what I mean. Both of those. I mean that class of over-the-counter product is perfect because that's moisturizer. Now, who has this problem worse this time of year? Doctors. Because every time we walk out of an examining room, and if a guy's seeing 10, 15, 20 patients a day, he walks in the room and you gel as you go in. It's called, I think I talked about this once before, you gel in and you gel out. So when you walk in an examining room, you put on the gel, you examine and talk to the patient, you walk out of the examining room, you put on the gel. So that means you do it twice for every patient you see. And before we had the gel, you washed.
Right.
Well, washed, if you put soap on your hands, the next thing you know, your hands are dry as a bone. This gel does have some moisturizing properties to it. So here we go back now to over-the-counter. What are you supposed to do? One, you don't use harsh soap, deodorant soap, or anything like that this time of year. You go get Dove soap or some soap that says it's got moisturizers in it. When you bathe, you do not use hot water. You use warm water. You don't stand there and scrub. You put lotion on your hands 10, 12, 15 times a day. If you're taking a bath in a bathtub, you throw some oil in there like Alpha Carry, it's over the counter, and you let it moisturize your body. It's not just your hands. And then that's the over the counter stuff. Just protect your hands from the detergents. Don't put your hands in the pine sol and keep them moisturized.
Okay.
Is that enough of that stuff, Sam?
That's plenty. Folks, now I don't know what Dr. Whaley has here, Sam. I don't know what he has planned. You and Sam just, I have no idea. It's
all right.
Now it's all you. What do you want to share to close?
Well, okay,
and the All-Star panel is making their way in. So that's going to be up in just a minute. Rick's laying over there on a futon with a new haircut. We'll have to try to get him off the couch. I don't know about this place. They're all laid out on the couch. How am I going to get the panel together? So, Dr. Whaley, what do you have for us?
Okay, I know these are high-tech guys.
Yeah.
So before you leave, these guys are in the market for televisions, okay? These are high-income, smart guys. They're not like us poor guys working piecework. You know, we get paid like making shirts.
Is that what happens? Everybody leaves with a TV?
You get a two-collar.
Call the warehouse.
You get a button-down shirt with cufflinks cost more than another shirt. That's what doctor's work is, piecework. All right. Sam, one of the most popular things that we've talked about during our many things has been addiction. And and we've talked about all sorts of stuff. I years ago on my radio program I used to do up here in the mountains on Wolf Creek Broadcasting Service, I years ago was talking about sleep disturbance in adolescents and the cell phone use, early in the use of cell phones, and it was sort of a peculiar product. Well, since we're in a television store, I want everybody to remember that in the early, people our age, in the early days of television, they began to publish critical things about the habit of watching TV and how much time people watched television and interfered with families talking to one another, and people became addicted to soap operas and so forth. Well, the television isn't portable. The smartphone is portable. yesterday there was a huge study from Korea, and I really trust the Koreans and the Asians in high-tech science stuff, because they know more about math than they've forgotten more about math than we ever know. They have defined cell phone addiction in adolescents and teenagers, and then they have gone the next step and done MRIs of the brain that have demonstrated that the adolescent, early and mid-adolescent, we're talking about kids between 10 and 20 and people in their low 20s, have an addiction to the smartphone that stimulates the area of the brain called the GABA receptor. And when we were talking about alcohol addiction way back, I said there are 3 binding sites in the brain. The GABA receptor, which is the alcohol and sedative drug binding site, is the same one that's stimulated by the cell phone use. And that is the part of the brain called the cingulate gyrus, and that's the reward center, but it's also the one that inhibits impulsive behavior and moderates makes you more social. So the use of this cell phone, how many hours a day do you think some of these adolescents use a cell phone?
I'd like for you to ask how many hours a day he uses.
Hey,
Okay,
stay out of this.
He's not an adolescent. But anyway, we talked about it before.
Little does he know, right, Sam?
It's not
Is it acting or?
It's not uncommon for it to be in the 3 or 4 greater hour per day,
Let me check my phone.
playing games and watching. And that addiction, in addition to where they don't talk to you, they don't study, and they don't sleep too much, is increasing antisocial behavior. That's the whole point. That diminishes their ability to not have impulsive behavior, and diminishes their ability to know and understand social cues. My wife is always saying that I don't have good social cues. She'll do like this if I'm supposed to listen, and do like that if I'm supposed to quit talking. And I didn't get that lack of social cues from working a cell phone, because I'm not good at it. But anyhow, that type of behavior does indeed have addictive properties to it. The take-home message goes back to the old one. It is my suggestion that the cell phone and the devices be taken away from teenagers, as long as they're in the house and you're supporting them, when they come home from school until their homework is done, and then take them away again at 9 o'clock at night and give them back after breakfast in the morning. I'm like, just think like you're stopping them from getting addicted to it. You're not going to let them use methamphetamine. Don't let them get addicted to the cell phone. Sam, what do you think about that? You like that
You
one?
have a real hard time getting some
He's not an
information
adolescent.
over a phone.
He's not an adolescent.
About him.
He's not in the home.
That ship is
How does
not-
this always get turned around on me, folks?
He's
How?
not playing. He's not playing with his mama's bat and his mama's ball on his mama's ball field.
All right. Okay. Wait a minute now. Thank you. You. Stay there. You. Okay. What have you? Thank you, Dr. Whaley. We always appreciate Ask the Doc. If you'd like to ask a question of our doctor every Friday morning, Dr. William Whaley, and we thank the Georgia Cancer Specialist, send us that question to info@fetchernews.com, and put in the subject, Ask the Doc, and we'll get that immediately to Dr. Whaley, and he will prepare an answer, and we'll try to get that on the show. So we thank him every Friday morning. Also at Circuit World here in Blue Ridge, because he brought up the TV. I hope JR is not listening back there, but use BKP's, come in, tell JR you want to use BKP's discount. I got a discount here. I got a friend. I know a guy, all right? His name's JR. Tell him I'm using BKP's discount. Up next, it is time for the All-Star Panel. And don't forget, it's December 1st, so it's Festivus. We're going to have the airing of the grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people out there. Take us a break, Sam.